Hi everyone, Perez here, branding for the people, and welcome to my next interview series here. And like I mentioned before in the previous interviews, part of my intention really here is to share awesome entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs for you to be able to learn another layer of building brands and really extending your brand beyond more than just a logo. And so one of the things that I'm also doing is to share people who've built successful businesses and successful brands, but also have a layer or an extension that complements some of the work that we do at Branding for the People. And again, these are all people that I've hand selected, people that I admire and respect their work. And so I want to share my next person with you. I'm super excited. Let me just bring on Brent Weaver. Brent?
Good to be here.
All right, cool. Thank you for making time. I know you're a super busy entrepreneur and a new dad, so I know time is a very valuable asset to have.
And Rhea, I will always make time for you, so don't even worry about it.
Awesome. So that being said, I'm going to give more of a professional introduction of who you are, and then I'll have you sort of more informally introduce yourself. But for those of you who are listening in, let me tell you about Brent. So Brent and I met earlier this year, and one of the things that connected, why I connected with Brent, not just being an awesome human being, but he's also had built successful businesses, and the work that he's doing is also it's admirable. So Brent is the CEO and founder of You Gurus. That's you with the letter U, yougurus.com. And his focus is helping web professionals build wildly successful businesses. And prior to starting this business venture, he's built a successful web agency for over 12 years, which got acquired in 2012. So I know for a lot of people that is a big aspiration to build a business and have it get sold and get acquired. So congratulations to you and on that venture as well as this new venture that you're doing, Brent.
Thank you.
Cool. So that being said, let me have you kind of share your story, like, why are you in this business or how you got into this business or even just a little bit about who you are as an entrepreneur.
Cool. And my entrepreneurial story, I guess, officially started when I started that previous business. And so I started a business when I was 17.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make some money on the side of going to school, right? Instead of getting like a real job, just
Sure.
wanted to make some money, and I knew how to build websites, so it was a logical next step for me to start building websites for people. I think websites are probably one of the few things at the time, back in 1998, 1999, that somebody would maybe trust a 17-year-old to build for them because they didn't really understand it.
Sure.
And so that first business was kind of an accidental business. I don't think I ever sat down and said, here's what I want to do for the next 12 years of my life, but that's what ended up happening. And I think over that journey, I learned a lot about branding. I learned a lot about what that even means. I think in my early days, it was like, we need to have a logo or a name, and that's like just because we have to have a business card, right?
Sure.
And so there was no purpose. There was no, we picked blue because we saw some other businesses that had blue logos,
Right.
And so like in those early days, I don't think I really knew anything about business. I just knew how to build websites, so I did that for money, and eventually, I learned that if you really wanted to grow and have other people a part of your business, they pretty much had to understand what you did a little bit more deep down, and so I eventually learned kind of more about branding along the way, but that business kind of, for me, it peaked in 2012.
Okay.
We kind of figured it out. It became profitable. We had a really good client roster. We had we built an asset. We had built a brand, right? There were people that really were loyal to our business, but at the same time, my own personal purpose started to kind of veer away from that business. Like I started asking myself, what did I want to do with my life? Like, where can I make the most impact? Is what I'm doing right now, can it be scalable?
Sure.
And a lot of the answers to those questions were things that didn't fit with that business. And so that's kind of why my partner and I decided to sell that business essentially in 2012 and founded You Gurus, because we had learned a lot along the way, and we had learned how to make the Web Pro business profitable, and we started sharing some of that knowledge with other people, and we started having a really big impact on people's lives, like bigger than we had on our clients' lives.
Sure.
And so we founded UGurus kind of under that mindset of sharing knowledge, helping people to become gurus within their specific niches, within their specific crafts, and that's what we've been doing since.
Awesome. Well, definitely, whether it was accidental or whatnot, I mean, you've obviously were creating value for people to have done that for 12 years. And what was the turning point for you? I know you said that these questions, right? Like, was this kind of aligned with your purpose and how you wanted to make an impact? But also, I love this question: is this business scalable, right? But was there something that happened in your journey, 12 years strong, right, that you started to look in a different direction?
There was. I mean, so we had created a website called BC Gurus, which is for a community of people that use a product called Business Catalyst,
okay,
which is an Adobe product. And this was something that we used in our agency, and we started to kind of just share content ideas back in 2010 around Business Catalyst. And what ended up happening was that kind of first taste of product. Right, there's just a lot of people have this product and service kind of debate. Like, right, are they a products company? Are they a service company? And we just decided to dabble with like product on the side. And what ended up happening was our product work became much more rewarding for us. Like, we were getting 6 and 10 page thank you letters from our clients on that side of the business. And whereas our client services business was always pulling teeth, it was always trying to figure out how to get our clients to believe in the types of strategies and tactics that we wanted to use to help them. Like, we were always having to sell them on why we wanted to do what we wanted to do, and they would always like strip down our ideas into these little like less effective lumps, right? Because either they had budget constraints or they had fear around doing some more aggressive marketing. And but at the same time, we were doing this other stuff with these people that really believed in us and would follow exactly what we'd tell them, and they were having huge results in their business and lives. And so that little experiment kind of made us realize that we might have a deeper purpose somewhere else. And so that kind of, it created this like two businesses essentially. We had our services side of the company, where we were helping small to medium businesses online.
Sure.
And then we had this like product side where we were helping web professionals. And so during that whole experiment, we just realized that we enjoyed creating those communities of people that were trying to live more successful lives. Like, we just enjoyed that work so much more. And so we kind of had a change of heart in terms of what we wanted to do for the next decade. And we also realized it was scalable, right? Service businesses, I'm sure you're very familiar with it. It's tough to scale. And so that combination of, we want to scale this business, we want to build a business that's way more valuable, and at the same time, we want to help a lot more people. And that just kind of changed our trajectory between kind of 2012, 2013.
Well, that's an awesome story. And what I love about what you said too is that, it's like kind of, if you have this vision for how you can scale the business, help more people, and create more value, if you're finding that your target audiences or your audiences and customers were getting more value on the product side, then that's definitely something to pay attention to. And I really want to kind of go a little bit deeper on sort of this value-based marketing or selling or business building, if you will, because I'm a big advocate that that businesses and brands, they help to solve a problem in people's lives, right? They solve whether it's a wake up in the middle of the night problem, or it's a problem like they just want to fit in, something that's more of an emotional problem, right? But part of that is if you can solve people's problems, you can create value in their lives, and people will pay to have their problems solved. And obviously that translates to creating value. And this is perfect setup in the conversation of branding, because branding is all about creating value for people, as opposed to just being another Me Too company, or even just being a company that just creates commodities, right? So let's kind of go there. So I know that you work with web professionals is kind of your big niche area, and you help them build wildly successful businesses. So talk to me about, and if you're listening in on this interview and you're not a web professional, if you're a web professional, then great. And also, if you're not, then you should be listening for the nuggets in terms of how to apply the thinking from creating value with your customers as opposed to positioning yourself and your brand as a commodity. So walk us through how you help your clients create value and move away from being a commodity.
For sure. And I think this applies to many more businesses, just like you said, outside of the web pro market. We know that market really well, and that's kind of our targeted niche, right? We've made a decision that we're going to work with those folks and not just general businesses. But the same problems that exist in our market, like a lot of our customers will tell us all the time, hey, you taught me things about running a business that like I could apply this to any entrepreneurial aspect of my life. Good example of this, you go to a typical web professional. When I say web professional, it's good to probably define that a little bit. It's web designers, web developers, internet marketers, people that have client services businesses that are set up to do web-related work for other people. That's really who our customer is. Okay. And you go to the typical web pro website, right? Whether they're a freelancer or an agency, and it's pretty much 95% of the time, the homepage says, we build great websites and web designs and SEO and email marketing. It's like this huge list of services. Right. And then they find themselves, once they're in a meeting with a client, that the client just starts viewing them as a commodity. And what they have failed is in that very first interaction, like interaction zero, before the client ever showed up at their doorstep, they set this expectation with their website and their branding that I'm a list of commodities. Right? Web design is a commodity. There's not a web designer on the market right now that doesn't understand that, and it's not fighting with that every single day. And so, by leading with their commodity, right, their service offering, they establish with their customer that they're just another web designer, right? They're not solving a higher value problem. And what most people, when they look for a web designer, now, this is when they're trying to find somebody to build their website to solve a sales and marketing problem, which is what a lot of websites do for a lot of businesses. Now, there are web apps and all that kind of stuff, actual software development on websites that maybe is a different set of problems. But in the sales and marketing bucket, most people are trying to solve a get more customers problem or do more business with my existing customers problem. And that's what they're trying, right? But the symptom that they think of is, well, my website's bad, so it's not helping me get customers, right? But they're thinking, oh, I need to go find a website designer, and then I need to tell the website designer what they need to do in order to fix my sales and marketing problem. And most business owners aren't equipped to fully understand how a website can solve that sales and marketing problem, because they maybe do one website project every 2 or 3 years. They just don't have the experience. They're good at whatever they do. Maybe they're a lawyer, maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're a manufacturing company, a nonprofit, whatever. They're good at that stuff. And for a minute, they think that they're good at building websites or telling a web designer what to do because they know what their problem is deep down. So I basically teach web professionals how to take that initial symptom, I need a website, and then create a much more high-value conversation with that client around helping them find that root problem. Most of the time, it's helping them get more customers, increasing revenue, etc. Helping them realize that what they're really trying to do is solve that problem. And then instead of thinking about just websites, let's think about the internet. Right? Let's think about websites, landing pages, microsites, lead funnels, lead magnets, traffic, conversion, organic SEO, Google SEO, Facebook paid ads. I mean, there is JV partners, guest posting, content marketing, user experience. I mean, all that stuff. There's this huge list, this huge array of tools that are at our disposal to help them solve that get more customers problem. And then the real value that person does is they identify what that real problem is, and then they start to craft a solution and a relationship and a partnership to help that person solve that problem. I think you could easily take that same idea and probably apply it to every
Virtually
single
any
other.
business. Virtually any
Exactly.
business. I mean, I can even say, sometimes I get this a lot too, where people say, "Oh, I just want a logo. I don't want to do all the branding and what's the purpose and what's the emphasis. Just give me a logo." And it's like, well, if the root of the problem, using your example, if the root of the problem is attracting higher end clients or positioning yourself as distinct in the marketplace, or you know, increasing your conversion rate, well, then the logo itself is not really going to solve that problem per se. It might be a piece of it within a broader context, but there's so many other things, from verbal to visual to experience, and right, there's that holistic approach to really solving that higher value, using your terms, that higher value solution to solve that problem.
And I think that's a perfect example, because like the logo might be like one of your like end results, like one of your yields, right? You might go through your process, and at the end of the day, you will get a logo. But if you just went to like 99 Designs or something like that and said, "Hey, I'm a doctor's office and I need a logo," right? Like, yes, it's going to be dirt cheap, but it might not establish that high value look and feel. Like maybe you, as a doctor, you want to charge and attract customers that are, 7-figure earners, right? Maybe that's where you sit in the market, and 99 Designs or whatever, they're not going to understand that. Just like the average web designer, when a business owner goes to them and says, "I need a website," and they pay $3,000 or $4,000 for it, and then 2 years later, they're wondering why they're not getting any more customers through their website and how their website's not performing for them. Like, it's because they just built a website. Like, they didn't understand what that problem was that they were solving.
That's right. That's right. And that's good. So again, take your business and take my business out of the equation, but virtually any business can apply that, is if you really understand your customer, your consumer, if you have a brick and mortar business or if it's a service-based business, but if you understand what's the root of the problem that you're trying to solve, then I would look to create value from that perspective, because you solve that problem, then you have a new friend or a client for life. Talking about lifetime value, right? It's like, solve that problem, and then maybe when you solve that problem, then there's the next problem to solve, right? But I love this. I guess it's consistent with your philosophy in terms of creating a value-based company, is really be in the business of solving problems in a very factual description way, right?
And a great example of somebody who's done this, that's a mutual friend of ours, Gary Henderson over at Interactivity Digital. They've been working with our company for a while, and when I first met Gary at Meta, he was very clear on the problems that he solved. He didn't say like, "Oh, I do Facebook marketing, and you should hire me to do Facebook marketing." Like, I had a traffic and conversion problem, and we talked at length about that problem. He wanted to understand my customer, my market, the types of things that had resonated with my customers in the past. Like, we spent a lot of time, and the way he set up his relationship with us was, this is not a one and done thing. Like, we can't just do a project and find success. Like, we're going to engage in an ongoing relationship. We're going to continue to learn about your customer, learn what makes them tick.
Right.
How do we get a direct response out of them? And by solving that deeper problem for me, he has a customer, month in, month out, right? We're on retainer with him. We're working with him from now until an unforeseeable future, because he's helping me solve a real problem in my business.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, Gary is definitely a friend and a colleague, and he's also a VIP client, so maybe I did something there to help him. He'll actually be someone that I'll be interviewing in the coming months. So yeah, definitely. But also, Gary's a smart guy and a great entrepreneur. But yeah, exactly, that's how he works, is really that whole thing of creating value and solving the root of the problems. Part of it also has to do with asking the right questions too, right? So a good problem, in my mind, a good problem defined is half solved. Right? And so sometimes most people are really trying to solve the symptoms or to address the symptoms rather than getting to the root of the problem. So just kind of added to what you were saying, but it's consistent with that.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts on, some of these other things you talked about. Like, what is the experience, right, with the brand? I mean, a lot of people they mistake a logo for a brand versus like an emotional response or, to everything, right? I mean, the logo, maybe a customer sees your logo once or twice. I mean, unless you're like a Nike and it's on all your products, but,
Sure.
When they actually go in and interact with that business, like what does it mean to, and you probably have a better answer than this than I do, but what does it mean to like have that image transcend into an actual experience? Like,
yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, you're speaking to the convert, of course. I mean, this is what I do for a living, but it is pretty much that. I mean, I'll say this phrase, and I'm sure you've heard some version of it, and maybe I'll bastardize the quote, but no one really, people don't remember what you do for them. They remember how you make them feel. So when we talk about the experience, yeah, I mean, sure, a logo can elicit a feeling, but where the rubber meets the road is the whole customer experience, the whole brand experience, all the different touch points, the interactions with the employees of the company or yourself, all those conscious and subconscious things that really impact someone's perception of you, deriving a feeling that they have about you. And at the end of the day, in plain English, and at the end of the day, we buy from companies and products and people that we trust, like, and respect, right? So to have that trust, like, and respect factor is really focus on creating value for sure, but also looking at, in terms of the experience piece of it, how are you making your customers and clients feel at the end of the day? Does that make sense?
absolutely.
So that being said, I do want to see, is there like a tip? Now, obviously, you've built a successful business, and we kind of covered, at least conceptually here, and a lot of the people that follow our work really kind of understand that it is more than just a commodity, and it's really just a frame of mind and a thinking on how you approach your business and your brand. But any words of wisdom in terms of building a brand and creating more value-based brands? Is there any other tips or words of wisdom that you might have?
Um, I would say if you can, front load good branding work. The further along that you get down a path with a business with a specific either lack of brand identity or an inconsistent or incoherent brand identity, the more you'll have to clean up later. And I think, there's obviously some kind of responsible relativity here. Like, you don't need to spend the first 6 months of your business like just thinking about brand, because if you only have X amount of dollars in your business, in your bank account, that might not work out.
Right.
But we have, like, and I'll be totally honest with you guys. We have made some mistakes with our existing YouGurus brand because we were very bootstrapped early on, and we were rushing to get things out to market and start to build that relationship with our customers. And we probably have gotten sloppy on our, brand cohesion. Like, we aren't cohesive in terms of what that identity looks like all the time. We're not necessarily cohesive in terms of our language of how we help our community, right? And so even though because we have a web design background, we're really good and clean on the design side, but we're probably not always thinking about brand. And I just know in the back of my mind that I'm building this problem that I'm going to then have to spend a lot of money to clean up later. And this is kind of me admitting, like, maybe I haven't been as good about branding and stuff with my existing business. Now, I think because we do have some experience doing branding for our web agency clients, like, it's not like it's atrocious or bad, like maybe to the outside visitor, but I just know that we're missing some potential.
There's like
right?
that next level for sure. And it's interesting because it's kind of like the same philosophy. You can't coach yourself, or you can't give yourself a back massage, or you can't cut your own hair, right? Use these analogies, but it's the same kind of thinking. Like, yes, you're savvy and you've educated yourself about branding, and you've actually done well with it. You've obviously monetized it. You did the first level of branding, or maybe the first 2 or 3 levels of branding when you're just getting started out. I mean, unless you're a fully funded startup business, bootstrapping it may be the way to go, but you could still bootstrap it and not not compromise good design. You could still do something of quality. But the thing that I want to highlight is that then there's that next level of, well, you might need to take another layer of it. But the thing is, my point is, you've worked with what you had in front of you. You've built a business. You have been successful. And then there's that next problem to solve, right? A lot of clients that work with me are great at marketing. And then next thing you know, there's like 20 different products or programs or services that then don't ladder up to an overarching brand. And so then it's like, okay, well, how do we make all these coexist, right? But that's only when you get to that stage. And so, it's I guess what I'm kind of highlighting here is you can build a brand in phases. As self-serving it is for me to say you should always be thinking about your brand, you may not just need to do all of it all at once. And then you want to give yourself enough time to be able to get some market input and generate some revenue to put back into your business to look at how to take it to the next level, and knowing that you can't just do it all on your own. You could take you to a certain point, but eventually you'll have to get some outside support, right?
Yeah, and we just in terms of a specific example, I mean, we tried to do some of that scaffolding brand approach. Like, we were in the middle of launching a program, and we had done kind of an MVP launch in the spring of this program, quick and dirty brand. Like, basically, might as well just picked a random font for the logo. I mean, it was quick and dirty, right? Sure. But then we got to version 2, and we said, hey, we want to redo, and we did it. We said, let's just redo the logo. Right, and so then we had some people, and I'm just admitting some fault here on air with you, but we had some people throw together a logo design and stuff, and we looked at them as a team, and we were like, none of this stuff is in alignment with really what we want this thing to look, and we ended up just scrapping that because it didn't work. And it's like, even though I kind of know what's good for me, it's so easy just to go down that 99 Designs route, right? It's so easy just to throw that stuff at the business and maybe not fully learn from my lessons. But that's just a recent issue that came up for us. We tried to rush it, we tried to stitch it together, and we ended up just staying with our version 1 kind of MVP product logo because we ended up finding we were doing all this work, but we were still getting the same result. It still just wasn't really lifting our overall brand, or it wasn't in alignment with the rest of what we had.
Cool. Well, thanks for being transparent. I mean, I think a lot of people will connect with you because it's not like you're coming off and saying you haven't made mistakes. I think if you're not making mistakes, you're not in business because a lot of this is sort of figuring it out. But one of the things I'll just sort of commend you on is just, aside from being transparent, is just knowing that at some point you have to just start with where you're at, right? And have that work for you, and and then keep going. But you definitely don't need to do all of it all at once. Give yourself permission to fail, and then of course there's that next layer of investing in branding. So that being said, I mean, you have been successful and it's worked for you, and it's just kind of like that knowingness that you can take it to another level. Possibilities are limitless. And the other thing I'll say is there's many different ways to get to the same destination, if you will, and there's no right or wrong way. You just work with what you have and you make it work. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and transparent, if you will, because then people know that you can make it happen and be successful, and then always grow and expand and learn. Were you going to say something?
No, I mean, I think that's it's spot on. I mean, I think, like I said, sometimes when we were building our businesses initially, I mean, there was that impression around brand. Let's just do quick and dirty, and then we'll clean up the mess later. But at the same time, when we have spent more time up front, we've said, hey, let's not do quick and dirty. Let's actually think this through. It contains those costs later on. Right. I mean, you do end up kind of moving dirt twice doing the quick and dirty approach, which, right. I think you have to make a choice as an entrepreneur. Is this really the best choice for me? I mean, I think the stuff that you did for Life on Fire.
Nick Gunsworth, our boy Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just watched. I mean, following your presentation at Meta, I've seen his campaigns on Facebook, his upcoming live event, and that kind of, I mean, it's so on point now. Like, it's like everything from his personal visual image of like what I can look at him, see like what he's wearing, and I'm questioning myself like, I bet did Ree dress him this morning? You know, like there's just every part of his brand seems like it's in alignment, and then everything across all of the platforms where he's advertising, his website, everything is just so tight. And I saw what he had before, and it was just like, I don't think he would have had that mass appeal that he has now had you not gotten involved.
Well, it was an interesting journey, and it's definitely for a separate interview for sure. I'll be having him as a guest, but yeah, definitely a fun process working with Nick in that rebranding process. But thank you for that. That's certainly a compliment for the work that we're doing, but certainly a compliment on what Nick has been able to do in really taking that brand and building it to life. So awesome. Well, that being said, so I do want to give people an opportunity. So if they want to learn more about you and check out your work, if they're a web professional, definitely go check out Brent. And if you're not a web professional, and you wanted to learn more about what he's doing, or just get on his list or whatever, then how should they find you, Brent?
Yeah, so yougurus.com is our kind of web pro community. So if you are in that space, then definitely welcome you to go there. Otherwise, if you just want to connect with me on a more entrepreneurial, personal level, I have my own blog, brentweaver.co, or you can hit me up on Twitter just at Brent Weaver. So all those avenues are great ways to reach out to me. Would love to continue this conversation with anybody that's out there within your audience.
Awesome. All right, Brent, yougurus.com. Or brentweaver.com or at
.co.
Sorry, my bad. Brentweaver.co, and then or at Brent Weaver. Really creative with the naming, the nomenclature system that you have here. Anyway, I know you're super busy, and I know you're off to your next power meeting. So, Brent, thank you for your time and sharing your story and what you're up to, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.
Very cool. Thank you, Ree.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.